Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Music is down. It is good to be here this morning, ready and excited to write. We're going to be fixing some typos. We're going to be writing some poetry about names. We're going to be celebrating the Poetry Fox. This show gets so jam-packed now. It's such a good way. In such a good way. I had some unexpected projects come up yesterday while I was busking, and now I have some opportunity to work on them. So I want to welcome anybody that is here, anybody that will be tuning in on the replay. So glad to be here on Twitch. Feeling like my life is starting to catch up to itself. I recently ended a job that was absolutely draining me, and was totally just pulling energy. And slowly that energy is starting to come back into all these things. I feel a little more prepared. I was a little more prepared this morning. I have everything set up the way that I wanted it to, including the just reload the screen. There we go. That's good. I can see myself live, and it's just all worked out this morning. So let us start our stream as we usually do with. Hold on a second. Good to see you here, Twitcher Alex. Thank you again so much for still being here, and I know that you got a lot that you are working on, so no worries. Let me make sure we have our poem ready. I don't want to be in there. Oh, and I gotta make sure that we have our sound down, which I forgot to turn off. And we will just lower it here. So, we have our poem of the morning, the final poem from the Poetry Fox this week. I want to thank the Poetry Fox, aka the Polite Heretic, for being such an awesome guest this morning. What we have here is a poem inspired by the word heart, taken from his sample page on his website, which I highly recommend that you check out his website when you get the chance. Anybody that is interested in learning more about how this amazing fox can make your wonderful event or moment or idea, just being able to create poetry on the spot like the fox. So the word was heart. The heart is meat, like the thigh or tongue, like most of you, red and tense and tough, to try to last the lifespan, plus a little bit more. The heart is such specific meat, wrenching itself, demanding to be alive, and alive. Obey it. One more time. This is heart. The heart is meat, like the thigh or tongue, like most of you, red and tense and tough, to try to last a lifespan, plus a little bit more. The heart is such specific meat, wrenching itself, demanding to be alive and alive. Obey it. Thank you again so much, Poetry Fox, for your amazing work. Really excited to continue collaborating through all the typewriter poet verse that we kind of go back and forth in. If you're here, then that's great. We can we can chat about it. Otherwise, thank you again so much for your contribution to the poetic verse. So we will be taking off tomorrow as we customarily do, but next week we have a new person we are going to be whose poetry we're going to be promoting on the show, and that is going to be the Poetry Busker. The Poetry Busker is a British-based poet. He is also a street poet. I found him I didn't literally find him there because I've never been to Britain, but I noticed he works a lot over on South Bank, which is one of my wife's favorite spots to visit. And so I was able to get even a commissioned poem about South Bank, which we will be reading as part of the stream. He is planning on creating some videos to also help introduce some of his poetry, which would be really cool. So we'll be able to get to hear straight from him himself. He is no stranger to the live typoverse, but he is an awesome, an amazing creative poet, and we are excited to be able to feature his work. His work is very different from the Poetry Fox, both having their own set of skill and creative insight. The poetry busker, it definitely does a lot more in the classic themes. When I requested a poem for my wife, the one I'll read on the stream, he talked a lot about how he had emulated the style of William Blake, very structural. So it will be great to see how these two different styles differ from each other in various ways, how they both bring out the beauty that we see around us. At least that's kind of my initial take on Cornell is his name, but obviously if he would probably be able to tell you way better his influences, his styles, and everything like that. So really excited to be able to show more poetry on our stream. Oh. And this brings us back to us being here, writing poetry, doing things on our theme. So this morning, the theme is names. And let me bring back our background music, which is provided courtesy of the wonderful, benevolent, inspirational Akira the Don, who is a lo-fi musical artist and does not restrict his music, but asks that people give him credit. So this is thank you again, Akira the Don, for all your amazing work, and this is his instrumentals that are playing in the background. So what names? We were going to discuss names. So one of the things that I have decided on this channel is that when we have new people come into the channel on the comment section, it might be a bit of a stop everything moment, because 3 times now we have had very unique usernames come into this channel, ones that made my jaw drop and go, oh my goodness, I need to write about that. And that's what we're going to do this morning to kind of start off. We had in this order, we had a ketchup god, and then we had a humble god, and now we have a polite heretic. What's in a name? You know, we have this box to fill. We have this label to put in to the internet to say, this is who I am. One of the things that I did a long time ago, and I'll type it into the chat. I think that's it. So my username across so many platforms for a long time was this username called SparkFreeWire. And it was just something I created when I was like 16 or 17. I think I was like Steam was one of the first things I had to like put it into. No, it might have been like StarWars.com. Well, anyway, the point of it being that it was just this, let me just make sure that I'm having some technical issues on this computer. Whoa, are we okay? Hopefully we are. All right, I think we're good. Well, we will have to make it work away, whatever we got. But anyway, it might have been like StarWars.com or something like that. But I just remember like it was such a unique username for me, and I thought I was really cool for it because it was a spark-free wire, which is basically just a wire. But like it just sounds cool. And so I just love the usernames of people that come through the channel, that come through Twitch. Some of them are really weird and wild. Some of them are really insightful. Because what you're doing is you're trying to take an aspect of yourself, because there's rarely do people, I shouldn't say rarely, but not often do people run around the internet with their real names. So it's about taking a part of yourself that people might not get to see, or an amalgamation of your name with something else. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to write a poem about a polite heretic and kind of inspired from that, and kind of making it a thing on this channel from here on out, that let it be known that if you come in and you chat and you're just saying hello, or you're like, whoa, what is this? Your username might get the poem before you do. So let's do some writing. Today, we have a new typewriter on the bench. It's not a new typewriter, it's a new old typewriter. And some of these typewriters have showed up on the stream before. This was probably around episode 40, 41, 42. It feels like so long ago. I was still operating on the kitchen table when I was doing that. This is a Smith Corona, 1949 Smith Corona Silent. This typewriter is the second typewriter I ever owned. It is the oldest of my functioning typewriters. I have a typewriter that's older than it that does function, but it does not have a body. So it's really kind of hard to maneuver it. So this Smith Corona Silent is a wonderful machine. It's been cleaned multiple times. I actually have fixed it, repaired it myself. The letter E has a piece that actually is not really fit to size for it, but gets it to still work anyway. So occasionally that key sits a little lower than the rest of them, as you can see there. But it still works perfectly fine. It's a wonderful machine, and it just goes. And it goes very quietly too. This is, believe it or not, probably one of my quietest machines. So enjoy the new typewriter ASMR as we get into our named poem this morning. As I switch my camera to the typewriter camera. There we go. There we go. Hey, you hola, Ainor. Welcome, Ainor, to the stream. We are writing poetry about a polite heretic, doing poetry on usernames, which is a thing I'm going to be kind of doing regularly. Enor. It sounds like Eeyore, your username. But welcome to the stream. You can request a poem on any topic. It doesn't have to be about a username. And I do the poetry on the spot. And otherwise, you can enjoy the lo-fi instrumentals as well as the typewriter ASMR of sorts. There you go. Now you can see the poem a little better. I'm really happy about how this one turned out. And it just rolled off. Very happy. The title of the poem is Polite Heretic. Excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to not talk about our Savior? Kindly objecting to your cosmos, please, if you may, consider different points of view. Escape the establishment with me, sweetly taking a hand, a real gentleman of an unpromised land. Standing apart in all the ways. I believe different, he or she remarks slightly. I believe in smiles and laughter over books and banter. I believe in people before power. Watch your step over the barrel before below me all my life. And let me open the door for you to a new world. I won't interrupt any objections your Inquisition has. I read that one more time. It's got a little bit of a different pace to it because I feel it's very conversational in its nature. This is Polite Heretic. And maybe I can read a little slower. Sometimes I read too fast for myself, but which isn't a polite thing to do, believe it or not. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a moment to not talk about a savior? Kindly objecting to your cosmos, please, if you may, consider different points of view. Escape the establishment with me, sweetly taking a hand, a real gentleman of an unpromised land. Standing apart in all the ways, I believe different, he or she remarks slightly. I believe in smiles and laughter over books and banter. I believe in people before power. Watch your step over the barrel below me all my life. And let me open the door for you to a new world. I won't object. I won't interrupt any objections your Inquisition has. Polite Heretic. It was casually suggested to me by a friend yesterday that, and when I say casually suggested, I mean that sarcastically. I mean that he was very emphatic in changing the times of the streams. I think that the 7 a.m. time is pretty harsh, and 4 o'clock p.m. tends to be the most common time that people are on Twitch. I just can't, I love the routine. I'm married to the routine more than I'm married to people being on it. I gotta think about it. Now I had a commitment that ended. I can probably do 2 streams. I really wanted to. It's a lot of work to get together 2 streams. I don't know. Think about it. Because then I could head to a show. I could have my morning word show, and then I have the poetry studio. Good morning, Wind City Chess. I hope that you enjoyed the poem. I saw you lurking in there. Our humble God is back. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you got my email. I'm sorry I wasn't able to read your poem on the stream. I haven't. I sent you an email back, but I hope that you're all doing very well this morning. I was just, believe it or not, today we are writing poetry based on names. At least that was the theme for today. And it was inspired by the fact that in succession, a Ketchup God, Humble God, and Polite Heretic, all those usernames all popped into the stream. So glad to see you guys here. Well, if you have any other requests, we just finished our themed poem for the morning. I have 2 poems that I need to retype. Those names were great, says Wind City Chess. Absolutely. They were really stellar usernames, and I frankly am very excited to see more usernames like that pop through the stream and the channel for people to come in and see all that. So what's the margins on these? Okay. So I had typed 2 poems on the street last night. Not stream, the street. And this lady asked me to retype them because they had typos in them. And I am generally happy to oblige, is the way I will phrase it. So I'm going to do that. Let's bring our music back. What will you do as it gets colder outside? You're just going straight to my anxiety. So the plan is that they're going to still be doing outdoors busking through the winter into the spring. As the governor's most recent order indicates, we are starting to tend back towards a potential second wave of shutdowns. So I do not know if that will inhibit what I do. I still will be able to get some income from being out there in a cold winter if I'm like doing the time slots, but that's not really what I want. I haven't decided yet. I mean, this for starts, doing the Twitch streams. I mean, it's good to be on here and writing, and I can do a lot of work with this. I have a project, a paid project, which is going to take me about 30 hours, which will also kind of, fit in like a glove and be a good thing that'll help keep the revenue going through the winter. And believe it or not, the winter is unpredictably successful sometimes. January is going to be a bit of a rough month, but like last night, so I think it was last weekend, not this weekend, but last weekend it was warm. It was wonderful. The weather was it was amazing. It was absolutely wonderful. There were tons of people outside, and absolutely nobody came up for a poem. It was a total mess of an evening for me. It was just I sat there and I was like, This last Friday night was colder, and more people came up for a poem. There is no rhyme or reason to it. I honestly am not a believer in the law of averages. I believe that the law of averages is helpful in a lot of circumstances. Like, I remember I worked at a large Swedish furniture store for a time in my life, and I remember that when, like, in the back end, when they were working on sales numbers and predicting sales and staff planning, they would go, oh, this time last year we had this many people come into the store. We had X amount of visits, and we had X number of sales, and we had X number of, the sales were average of this. So this is what we expect for this year, and this is your goal. This is what you're supposed to make. And it was kind of like, no, that's not how it works. Like you definitely have a good predictor, but it's not a guaranteed predictor. And so what happens to me so often is I will, as a busker, because I am running sales, technically, I will set up myself for the best opportunities. You always want to do that. You don't want to try to go and busk at 2 a.m. Doesn't make sense. So I set up for the best opportunities. And then it turns out in lesser times, sometimes, everything will just, be amazing. And there's no explanation to it. I think the best answer to that question is I will be praying. And I know that seems like such a cop-out, but it's more that I'm not sure what's going to happen next. But I know that when I've put my trust in my faith, that good things have happened. It's honestly, I do actually do that a lot. Despite being able to very well personify a polite heretic. So, retyping poems. This one is about sisters. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And let me bring back our music. What do we have playing now? Oh, perfect. I'm being very careful not to do any typos on this one. In part, I blame this typewriter. This typewriter is not good at retyping over mistakes. I can't explain that, but it is not good at that. But it brings me, this exercise brings me into connection with all those generations of typists having to work off of those manual typewriters to type perfect letters. Smart use of ampersand, Joseph. This is all retype, so I'm remarking about my previous poem. Wanna become famous? Buy followers, primes, and views on bigfiles.com. Here, no, we'll get rid of that. Nope. Go away, spam. Pressing. All right, well, that one is done. And now we have a second poem to retype. So we will just keep on. If you're tuning into the stream, I'm doing some of my own backlog of work, retyping some poems that had some typos in them. I probably should consider investing in a typewriter eraser for times when the poems need to be a little more sensitive. And I think the eraser would be the best way for me to handle mistakes. Whiteout doesn't work on this paper because it's parchment Southward paper. Everything's a trade-off. But I wonder if there is such a good eraser. Papers are weird. Very hard to get a right angle on this typewriter when it comes to the paper. Let's try this again. I'm just seeing if it's cut right. I think it is. How many typewriters do I have now? I have lost count. It's on my to-do list to do an inventory. I literally have so many typewriters that I have to do an inventory. And doing an inventory is such a task that I don't have time for it. That's how many typewriters I have. I mean, it's probably hovering around 30 to 40, but I've acquired 3 this past week. Yeah, I acquired 3 more this past week. And just figure that like it probably is at least 1 typewriter a week for the past, I don't know. Well, it's actually not as much. It's not that much. It's not 1 typewriter a week. But it definitely is a lot. But an inventory needs to be done. I think I might actually be starting to hit 40. So the collection continues to grow. But I have resolved that I am going to start renting them out. Not renting, like, I'm going to buy and rent typewriters. I'm saying I'm going to have them be able to be rented by people. And I have to kind of implement the strategy for that, but that's going to be real exciting. But yes, I will be renting them out. Speaking of fixing things, I don't know. Let me make this bigger. That's better. Seeming a little better. And this one is about loyalty. No. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Alright, no typos on me. Typewritten. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. The second poem is generally more words. So Steve? Yeah.
He's got clout.
Success. 2 poems, retyped, in full, no mistakes. Whew. I get nervous, you know, because these typewriters, they like to mess with you, you know. There was only one mistake, which was the it was when I typed a M instead of a comma, but I think it came out okay. Alrighty. And I'll read these so that you guys get the added benefit of hearing the poetry as it is finished. First one is about sisterhood. My sister. From our youngest days, I looked up to her best ways, inspiring joy across the decades long to this. A sibling bliss where I miss such caring in the moments in between. What you were, I wanted to become. What you are, I want to love. Treasure the gatherings where inside jokes make us bowl over in wonder about how years don't change the giggling and smiling self as we were when dresses and shoe sizes were smaller. When I introduce you to friends and family proudly, effortless redundancy at the blessing of you. Look at her, wonderful world. Look at her. She is my sister. And then loyalty. This one's about friends. Very general requests came from this wonderful woman who requested 5 poems at once. And I was more than glad to share them. But what's interesting is sometimes you can go very deep on the personal details. So if somebody turns around and says, write about my sister, she does this, this, and this. And other times it's write about this person. And I'm like, oh, gotta figure out that person. Loyalty. You mark them out, outside the bloodlines and into the sight lines that sometimes seem closer. Those who were chosen from the crowds, who collided like galaxies and comets that come once in a lifetime. Who are the light in the dark and fuse notions with channeled emotions. I know their starlight remains in the garish day, in the work of heat and blinding truth. I sit under a cool summer night in barbecue delight and find our lives always shared this celestial pattern. Constellations of clinking drinks, raising a toast to those who will have us most, at most of our joy, at most of our sorrow, at most of our life. Friends, loyal to the end. Thank you all for tuning in today. We had a pretty cool chat here. We had Enor and Humble God, Wind City Chess, Twitch Hero Alex. So good to see you all here. I will be tuning into the Akira stream this morning as I attempt to clean up a very dirty house, which I just didn't get to clean it up yesterday. Every day I got to clean my house. And thank you so much for being part of this and helping keep this going and supporting it. And we will have a new poet starting Monday. So as always, tomorrow we are not here. Monday we are here. And thank you again so much. Have a wonderful day. Let me get new music on. Nope. There we go. That's a good ending screen. Thank you again for tuning in to the Poetry Studio.